ABSL Summit. Beyond Tomorrow. Building a Sustainable Future.
And now I think we are entering into the next topic on our agenda. It's quite intriguing subject, I can tell you. So I'd like to now invite the team who will be talking about the case study, MMC Change. What are you not willing to give? What are you willing not to give up? Comfort, time, past, or safety?
I welcome to the stage Lynne from Wistinghausen, Managing Director at MMC, and she will be joined by Puneet Sharma, the Change and Transformation Leader also at MMC.
Good luck.
I'm glad that we spoke about the sessions that we spoke before ours, and we're not the only one experiencing the challenges that we thought we were, and most of the topics were talked about. But I'm going to talk about how we experience change at Marsh and what we've done to have a successful year one of execution and see results. Have you ever noticed when you talk to people about a personal change that they're experiencing in their lives? Sorry, the mark was too far. So let me repeat. Have you ever experienced how people react when you talk of a personal positive change in their lives? Be it growing up and moving away from home, getting a dream job, getting promoted in their job, getting married, or a newborn, the joy of a newborn. It's often enthusiastic and energetic. And there is another type of transformation which occupies a completely different emotional space in our minds, and which is the transformation of organizations. If you are like most people, when you hear our organization is going to transform, there could be the thoughts that come to your mind that it's about cost cutting, about mass layoffs, about not having the possibility to grow, to change. You may start to look for a new job. You may even resist the change, and you may not want to be a part of it. Well, the reality is that the change is here and change is now. And given all the global evolution and the technological advancements, the fact is that our organizations have to adapt. And the ones that didn't disappeared. Look at Sears, BlackBerry, Oldsmobile, to name some. And I'm sure I'm not the first person to say that, and I'm not the only person to say that the only constant is change. And you may also think that it's just another story of transformation without the results. While at Marsh, like I was starting to speak, we started on a transformation journey more than a year back. And we started looking at the challenge ahead of us, which was to transform a traditional way of working, which is centuries old, and which hasn't changed much over the years. Just to give you an example, in one of our biggest offices in the region, we still had one guy whose job was to take paper policies, because Marsh is an insurance broker. One guy's job was to take paper policies from insurer to get it signed. And I'm talking about a few years back. And we've changed that, we've transformed that, but that's just an example. But what's the key? The key is that we need to start right and we need to start whole. First of all, change is hard. And especially when it is imposed on people, it becomes even harder because people are naturally change resistant. And organizations often tend to do things to make it even harder. To give you some examples, the leadership sits too long to act on the changes that are expected to be done. There is most of the time focus on short term, which doesn't give us the opportunity to focus on being really innovative, changing the way we work, and Another example is implementing a solution to a problem that does not exist, and also following a one-off approach. These are just some of the examples that the organizations take to be not successful at change. One more example, and it was discussed in one of the panels before, is to change the way technology is implemented. And we are here to focus on technology. That's why I would like to share an example of the transformation that we did. And it's a lesson learned for us. We implemented a technology at Marsh where we spent a couple of $million, like a lot of millions of dollars to develop the technology solution, to implement the technology solution, and it is not being used. The reason why it is not being used, that it was never a part of the process, and it was never a part, like it was not adapted to the day-to-day of people's working. Having said that, having discussed all those challenges, what can organizations do to be successful at that change? And today I'm going to share the 4 key imperatives of change. To start with, the first one is inspire through purpose. And the purpose, inspire through purpose. Most transformations have financial and operational goals, which are key. They are important, and they are motivation for the leaders, but not for the most people in the organization. We need to instill people with a true sense of purpose, to identify where the problem lies, to fix those problems, and to really go to the deep, like the grassroots level. The second is think end-to-end. I already shared an example of the technology implementation that we had done some years back, and it didn't succeed. It's key to think about people, process, and technology. And too many transformations focus on job cutting, on savings, and mass layoffs in the guise of transformation. Whereas we really need to focus on changing the way, fundamentally changing the way organizations work, creating opportunities for the future for the organizations. And the next imperative is about building capabilities and developing the future leaders. I wanted to share a personal situation. I'm not very good at applying techniques, following the rules, but I mean it in a positive way. But what I have a simple capability, which is to identify logic and execute keeping the end in mind. And true leaders will inspire you to be the change. And I want to invite Lynne to talk about how she's being an inspiring leader at Marsh and a pioneer of change. Lynne.
Thanks, Puneet. Isn't that nice that he said that? In order to set the stage, I wanted to let you know that a transformation leader really needs to focus on 3 things to make sure that we can bring people along the journey and give them the right skills and tools. The first thing they really need to focus on is know the industry that they work in. The second thing they need to focus on is the core values of the company. And the third thing they need to focus on is the culture in which we work. So with that in mind, it's important, as Puneet said, that we have a very long history at Marsh and in our industry. We haven't always kept up to the ways of working. And thirdly, our entire purpose of being is to serve our clients and give them security and peace of mind. That is the exact opposite of a transformation. So we really need to take a delicate balance. And with the approaches that we took that have given us the most success is the first thing we did is we built a vision, okay? You have to build a story. People love a story. That's your case for change. And once you have your story in hand and it's about 80% ready, you need to start to engage your colleagues. You have to engage your stakeholders. You have to engage frontline colleagues as well. There's different ways that we've gone about this that has actually been very successful for us. The first one being creating governance boards. People love to feel included, and you have to create an inclusive environment. So by having different types of governance boards, like decision-making governance boards, some governance boards have just been listening and giving us feedback so that we can get the word out. Another thing we've done is have a ton of town halls so that we can get our messages out. We also have found that team meetings have been the most successful. Colleagues feel very secure and comfortable being really able to understand where you are in your journey of change and ask questions along the way. So once you start to engage people, the next thing you need to do is build credibility. A lot of people, when it comes to change, they sit on the fence, as Puneet has said. And they have this, mantra that says, this shall pass too. So, don't worry, it's not gonna happen. We don't need to really change. And so if you can build in quick wins right away, this will build credibility and get you where you need to be. And it's also very important to do what you say you're going to do. Execute well. These repetitive things of just executing well over and over will create people to believe that this is really going to happen. We are going to get to that story that they told us about, that better future place. And then after credibility, it's probably the most tiring part of your transformation is communication. You're going to feel like a broken record. You repeat yourself. As long as you're consistent, I actually think this is the most important thing. You have to tell stories along the way. There's different ways that we have found to communicate the best. Broadcast emails haven't been the best way for us. A lot of our countries say, unless you do it in local languages and make it real for us, they're not as interested in broadcast. People really like videos, vignettes of what's going on and how this has changed. And if you can get champions to speak about this instead of you talking about it, that's even better. And again, I've already mentioned town halls and team meetings. So I really think that with these things in mind and using these tactics, and there's a lot of other tactics as well, that with a lot of hard work and a little luck, you can have a successful transformation. And I think that's it. I think we're ahead of schedule. I don't know if you're allowed to ask questions. I haven't seen anyone do that yet, but if there are any questions, we're happy to take them. Sure. Okay, so a couple. Yeah, so I can repeat it. How do we measure the change? We have a couple of different methods. Part of our change has been centralization. So we have a process in which we do report out every month how we're doing and where we're seeing improvements when it comes to capacity release and how we're generating value. That goes out to all of our CEOs, HR heads, as well as CFOs every month. There's also change adoption when it comes to technology. How many transactions went through the new way? How many, different things, and are people truly adopting it according to how much they could do? So we've just started to track some of those. I would say those are two of the biggest ways we monitor change. And then through feedback, you gotta watch emotional, constant emotional feedback, but it's still very valid. Yeah, sorry, way back there, yeah.
Pretty loud, so.
Ah, you're loud? Oh, like me.
Doesn't matter. Okay. Some of you mentioned the people feel changes, and it's very difficult for the top management to. If you want to implement new technologies, how you gonna change
Yeah, I'm a big believer in proof of concepts. Proof is in the pudding. I'm not a big believer in big bang approaches. If you're gonna change and get buy-in from the top, there's been so many times where top leaders have told me that it's not gonna work, no one's gonna follow you, it's not gonna happen. You always start by saying, oh, this is just a pilot or a proof of concept. So people actually think, oh, I might not have to change forever. I just might have to change for a little bit. But the secret is they're changing forever, you know? Like, you have to make it work. But it makes people feel comfortable to come along with you. And then the leaders have an opportunity to go, huh, Joe's saying it's great. Oh, it must be good. Maybe this will work. And then you continue to roll it out from there. Is one approach. Sure. Yes, this one. Okay. How do you tackle lack of engagement? Yes, this is always a very interesting one, and it's you have to get creative. If one thing doesn't work, try something else, right? But a lot of times, what I've done is, and what the feedback has been to us, is the team meetings approach. Really having one-on-one conversations with people and finding out why and how come something, you know, isn't right for them or they don't want to engage. But finding those champions, because, you know, you always want what your neighbor has, you know? So if your neighbor has the new toy or the new thing and you didn't get it and they're trying it and they say, oh, this is good, all of a sudden you're like, well, I think I want to have some of that too. So it's usually, and then I don't know if they had that shampoo commercial here in the 80s, you know, one person tried it, then the next person, and everybody was talking about the new thing, and that's how you can become contagious. You need to create it slowly.
If I can add one comment to that. So to start, I think you need to start with inspiring people to be the change, not to impose it on them. The way to communicate, if you say like, this is what we are going to do, you will have most of the people resist that even if they agree to the change. If you make them part of the journey, if you make them part of the solution, you understand how they look at the solution and how they look at the problem, then it will be easier for you to implement that and will be less resistant. That's what we've experienced.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Resilience, maturity, talents, growth, innovation. The change made us stronger. This all made us sustainable. ABSL Summit. Beyond tomorrow. Building a sustainable future.